Speaking personally for a moment, as some of you know, I graduated from Harvard nearly 2 years ago. This May, it is coming up on 2 years. And I am no stranger to the rancid, woke, illiberal, crazy on-campus environment that many of these colleges and universities have become. Now, obviously, I was at Harvard in a pre-October 7th moment. But as I said earlier, if there's one point that I want to make today, it is that none of this, as disgusting as it is, none of this should be shocking to people. The seeds of this kind of entitlement, this kind of craziness, this kind of corrosive way of thinking have been there for some time. They were there when I was in college, and they were there before I was in college. This has been percolating over the past decade. And I think sometimes when people look at those Columbia students or those Yale students or those Ohio State students or those Harvard students or name any other university students and their crazy behavior, I think they kind of tend to think like, oh, those individuals are, just brainwashed by social media, or they're a fringe. And the university isn't teaching those things. Or if the university is teaching them, they're teaching them on kind of a light level. But there are other factors contributing to those students' craziness. No. They are being taught and deeply encouraged to be the kind of radicals that they are. And let's look at some proof of that. As I said, this existed when I was in college, and this existed before I was in college. For so long, adults, deans, faculty members, TAs, really people on campus who should be setting good values, have been encouraging and rewarding students for misbehaving because they say that they are doing that in the name of saving their nation, in the name of fighting racism and bigotry. I remember being at my college graduation 2 years ago in May, and dean after dean got up in front of us and said, "You guys are going to be the generation who turns our world around. You are the most enlightened, tolerant generation to ever exist in the United States of America." And I remember sitting there on my college graduation, listening to this and going, first of all, how do you know that? We're 22 years old. How can you say that at 22 years old, anyone is going to go on to do anything, let alone save the world, which is essentially what they were telling us that we were going to do? And also, I was sitting there thinking, honestly, a lot of evidence to the contrary. When they tell us, you're the most tolerant generation in American history, I'm sitting there going, actually, in many ways, we are some of the least tolerant members of a generation in American history. But for so long, when you are told that you are so spectacular and your resistance and your throwing a hissy fit is what is saving this country, then no wonder you see so many people doing it, and it's gotten to this insane scale. So if you don't take my word for it that this kind of a puffing up was done to students at my college graduation, let's watch our president, Joe Biden, then Vice President Joe Biden, delivering the class day speech at Harvard University in 2017. Listen to what he says to those Harvard graduates.
In order to fill your destiny, class of 17, it's absolutely essential for you to engage in the world around you. Engage just like you did here on Harvard's campus. And I learned about you lying down in front of Memorial Chapel to insist that Black Lives Matter, or seeing Harvard University dining service workers through their strike, standing with them in a fight for better health care, or joining the hundreds of thousands who came together to take part in a women's march or the science march or the climate march. You must maintain that determination and commitment to making things better once you leave this campus, because, as I said, you're the most engaged, tolerant, talented generation in our history.
Literally, look at that right there. He's saying, the vice president of the United States at the time is saying, good for you for lying down on the grass in protest in front of Memorial Chapel. You are the most tolerant, talented generation in American history. This is being instructed. This is being glorified. This was in 2017. This behavior has been happening and being rewarded. And so no offense to the people who are shocked today at what's going on at Columbia. Are you really shocked? Have you been living under a rock? Maybe you have been. But this is the reality. Yes, Shanzi.
Just seeing Biden from 6 years ago.
I know.
He could competently slang the BS. Oy, my, things have changed.
Well, you notice at the beginning he stumbled on a word. It started to look like him today.
That was so much better than
Totally.
him today, though.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Let's watch another video of this going on. This is from a year later in 2018 when Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was delivering the Yale Class Day speech.
We're living through a time when fundamental rights, civic virtue, freedom of the press, even facts and reason are under assault like never before. But we are also witnessing an era of new moral conviction, civic engagement, and a sense of devotion to our democracy and country. So here's the good news. If any group were ever prepared to rise to the occasion, it is you, the class of 2018. You've already demonstrated the character and courage that will help you navigate this tumultuous moment. And most of all, you've demonstrated resilience.
It is such puffing. It's such posturing. And again, no wonder. We are literally, I can vouch for this as a recent member of one of these universities. We are constantly being told how great we are. We're constantly being told how groundbreaking we are. And we are constantly being rewarded for our resistance. I mean, what these leaders should be telling us is, hey, we admire your commitment to want to make a better world, or we admire your activism, but you actually don't know very much. You're 22 years old. You've got a lot to learn. Believe it or not, you should not be in charge of the United States of America at your age. You should not be in charge of curriculum at these universities. I mean, it's so hubristic to think that you at this age as a college student are so enlightened that you know everything that needs to be changed. I mean, when I see people at universities not just protesting against this Israel stuff, but, protesting against certain courses or elements of the curriculum, it's like, what the hell do you know? Your brain isn't fully developed. How are you so certain that you have that kind of knowledge to demand that your elders, your primitive elders, change in order to reflect the kind of things that you want? And then we see here with these Israel people, they don't know bleep about Israel. They don't know bleep about Gaza. You see these videos of people going, like Ami Horowitz and others who are brave enough to go onto these campuses, going up to these students and they're going, hey, so you're chanting from the river to the sea. What river? What sea? And you see that they literally cannot answer it. But this is being inculcated and this is being rewarded.